In 1986, Canon Films burned 20% of a $10 million budget on a single martial arts star, while an Oscar-winning legend quietly shot his final frames before death. But when the desert smoke cleared and 40 years of unforgiving time marched on, who leveraged this military spectacle into an untouchable empire, and who was tragically erased by the merciless Hollywood machine? They gave their blood to the desert. They gave their youth to the screen. They gave everything to the Delta Force. Today, their final realities are exposed. Number 1. Chuck Norris. $20,000. At 45, Chuck Norris, born in Oklahoma to a fiercely hardworking mechanic and a resilient homemaker, was the undisputed king of the action genre. He embodied Major Scott McCoy, the relentless motorcycle-riding tip of the American spear tasked with rescuing innocent hostages. He was the weapon. He was the marketing strategy. He was the entire cinematic draw. To secure this explosive presence, Canon Films surrendered a staggering 20% of their $10 million budget, handing Norris an astronomical upfront salary of $2 million. Now, in the reality of 2026, the 86-year-old martial arts titan remains alive, wealthy, and utterly untouchable. Resting upon a massive multi-million-dollar empire built on fitness brands and real estate, he completely abandoned the grueling Hollywood machine decades ago. He does not need the silver screen. The culture immortalized him without it. Today's public reveres him not merely as an 80s commando, but as a living myth, an invincible force of nature who successfully turned a blockbuster paycheck into a lifelong, unbreakable dynasty. Number 2, Lee Marvin. $500. $800. Beside the invincible martial artist stood a fading titan taking his final bow. At 62, Lee Marvin, born in New York to an advertising executive and a fashion writer, brought unparalleled gravitas to the scorching desert. He commanded the screen as Colonel Nick Alexander, the battle-hardened leader, orchestrating the rescue. To secure this Academy Award-winning legend for a grueling international shoot, the studio paid a flat upfront fee estimated between $500,000 and $800,000. In 2026, the world has long mourned this absolute giant. Marvin tragically passed away in 1987, barely a year after the premiere. He did not watch his era fade. He did not witness the industry transform. He left behind a secure estate and an unbreakable legacy. Today's public reveres him as the quintessential Hollywood tough guy. He remains a brilliant, battle-scarred veteran who poured his very last ounce of strength into the lens before the screen permanently faded to black. Number 3. Robert Forster. $150 $200 $150. At 44, Robert Forster, born in New York to a former circus elephant trainer and an Italian-American mother, stepped directly into the crosshairs of the American military machine. He chillingly portrayed Abdul Rafai, the ruthless lead terrorist hijacking the ill-fated commercial airliner, to anchor this grueling high-stakes international shoot. The independent studio secured his intense dedication with a pragmatic upfront salary, estimated between $150,000 and $200,000. In 2026, the world deeply mourns this phenomenal talent. Forster passed away in 2019 at 78, leaving behind a comfortable estate and an extraordinary Hollywood comeback story. Refusing to fade into obscurity, he secured a staggering Oscar-nominated renaissance later in life, cementing his enduring legacy in prestige television and auteur cinema. Today, the public reveres him not as a fleeting 80s antagonist, but as a deeply soulful, highly respected veteran who conquered the brutal industry on his own uncompromising terms. Number 4, George Kennedy. $75. $150. Stepping onto the perilous tarmac was a Hollywood giant taking on a deeply sympathetic role. At 61, George Kennedy, born in New York to an orchestra leader and a ballet dancer, brought moral fortitude to the chaos as Father O'Malley. As an Academy Award-winning veteran, he was strategically recruited for a high-profile cameo to elevate the film's prestige. For enduring several grueling weeks in Israel as a captive passenger, he secured a flat upfront salary, estimated between $75,000 and $150,000. In 2026, the world remembers this towering figure with profound respect. Kennedy passed away in 2016 at 91, leaving a deeply decorated filmography. He seamlessly anchored massive disaster epics and brought unwavering gravitas to every role. Today's public reveres him not merely as a captive priest in an action flick, but as an immortal Oscar-winning titan of classic cinema, whose legacy remains permanently untouchable. Number 5. Martin Balsam, $75, $150. Alongside George Kennedy in the terrifying claustrophobic cabin sat another titan of classic cinema. At 66, Martin Balsam, born in the Bronx to a sportswear manufacturer and a resilient mother, brought a heartbreaking authenticity to the geopolitical nightmare. He flawlessly portrayed Ben Kaplan, a vulnerable but deeply courageous Jewish passenger, targeted during the agonizing hijacking ordeal. As an incredibly decorated Oscar-winning character actor, his profound emotional weight was essential to anchoring the stakes of the rescue mission. To secure his veteran expertise for the intense international production, the studio compensated him with a flat upfront fee, estimated between $75,000 and $150,000. In 2026, the cinematic world continues to deeply mourn and honor this incredible talent. Balsam tragically passed away a decade after the premiere in 1996 at 76. Leaving behind a secure estate and an extraordinary diverse filmography, he never compromised his immense artistic integrity. Today's audiences revere him not merely as a captive hostage in an 80s action spectacle, but as a definitive immortal pillar of classic Hollywood, who elevated every single frame he graced. Number 6. Shelley Winters, $75, $150. Beside Ben Kaplan sat his fiercely protective wife, brought to life by another certified cinematic legend. At 65, Shelley Winters, born in Missouri to an opera singer and a menswear designer, stepped into the terrifying claustrophobic fuselage. She embodied Edie Kaplan, adding profound emotional devastation to the brutal hostage crisis, bringing decades of Academy Award-winning prestige to a grueling supporting role. She commanded a flat, upfront salary estimated between $75,000 and $150,000. In the reality of 2026, the world deeply reveres this absolute powerhouse of the screen. Winters passed away in 2006 at 85, leaving behind an astonishing Hollywood legacy and a secure estate. She refused to be defined by her youth, fiercely transitioning into one of the most prolific, unapologetic character actresses of her generation. Today, the public remembers her not merely as a terrified passenger, but as a fearless, double Oscar-winning titan who absolutely dominated the golden age of cinema. Number 7, Bo Svenson, $50, $75. At 45, Bo Svenson, born in Sweden before immigrating to America, brought towering physical authority to the terrifying hostage crisis. A former U.S. Marine and judo champion, he effortlessly embodied Captain Campbell, the courageous commercial pilot forced to navigate the geopolitical nightmare. For delivering his rugged real-world grit during weeks of claustrophobic cockpit filming, the studio compensated him with a pragmatic upfront salary estimated between $50,000 and $75,000. In 2026, the 85-year-old veteran remains vibrantly alive and relentlessly engaged in the industry. Insulated by a secure fortune, Svenson transcended his action roots to become a highly respected producer and a beloved cinematic fixture for auteurs like Quentin Tarantino. The modern public reveres him not merely as a terrified pilot, but as a deeply respected, uncompromising Hollywood survivor who successfully carved out his own independent production empire on his own absolute terms. The desert sands of 1986 have long settled, but the legacy of this elite cinematic unit remains fiercely immortal. Whether their real lives ended in tragic silence or expanded into massive, untouchable empires, the history they forged on that scorching tarmac will never be erased. Hollywood's most explosive secrets are still waiting in the dark. Do not let the next untold story pass you by. Hit that subscribe button right now, turn on notifications, and join our investigation before the truth is buried forever.